No, we're not going to interview Mike Tracy. We've done that before, and we will again. Coming up, Senator Nonini joining us in studio. I'll take your calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So here we have another Kevin Miller Money code word, memories. Memories. Remember, listen at 605-805. Kevin Miller mornings and Sean Hannity afternoons at 3:05 for your chance to win up to $5,000. More details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Now, my man with the best saying ever, Idaho needs Nonini. How are you?
I'm well. How are you this morning?
You know, I've missed you, Senator. You've been on the trail. You've been out and about. You've been with those folks at state-run radio and television. Your big debate last night. Your thoughts?
I thought it went well. It was interesting. It got a little funny at the end, I guess. One of the opponents went after a couple of the rest of us, and it got a little weird. And I talked to some friends after Mike dropped me off last night at the end of the event, and I guess as it ended on TV, it just was cut off. And Senator Hagedorn and Steve Yates were just kind of going at it with each other.
Right.
So being in the studio, you could watch the whole thing play out. It was just weird, a little different, but good for public television for hosting. I appreciate it.
Whether the NSA was in the Department of Defense or not, or Homeland Security, that's what they were talking about. If you missed it at home, and public television will have that on their website and on YouTube if you'd like to watch it. You actually took a couple shots, people wondering about your hunting and fishing license, and then you, and that was Senator Hagedorn that was the aggressor last night, I thought, at the end, when he said, talked about being on, the only person with a hunting license and that sort of thing, and you took a little shot back at him, I thought.
Well, I've had a hunting license in the past. I used to hunt a lot. Unlike Senator Hagedorn, I'm a native of Idaho, and I grew up in northern Idaho, and, geez, we've been hunting since junior high and high school days. I like to fish. I like to boat. I like to snow ski. And so I live on the water, and I get a fishing license every so often, but I like to go golfing and go boating, and so I haven't fished. But I just find it interesting that some of those candidates, and in particular Senator Hagedorn in that case, thinks that he's qualified to be lieutenant governor because he's the only one with a hunting and fishing license. Like, that has a lot to do with being the lieutenant governor.
Well, by the way, 580-5436, 580-KID if you have a question for Senator Nonini. But, you brought up a point last night that I thought was what was the big one of the debate about education, how important it is in your experience. We'll get to that, but I think former Representative McGeehan took a shot at you too, did she not? At the end,
I don't
about
know.
who's the real conservative or something like that. I can't remember.
Well, I try to focus on what I am trying to do.
Let's talk about you then, because it's all about Nonini, my man.
It's always all about Nonini when you're talking to Senator Bob Nonini,
That's
of course.
Right.
But I just think education's important.
Right.
And I have been a fighter for education. I've been a fighter against the teachers union years ago and at the beginning of my legislative career. We went through the Great Recession. We had to cut the ed budget. We wanted accountability from teachers, and we've got that. And no one wants to talk about education. Everyone wants to, talk about the things that they think the voters want to hear. I get that. I do too. But education, when you talk to the public, seems to be important. It's our future. It goes with our economic development, and whether it's more charter schools, whether it's homeschooling, whether it's the things I promoted in my time in the legislature. I sound redundant because I hear myself saying it around the state.
Well, we haven't heard
time.
you in a while, so be redundant here.
Well, the part is I am proud of my 14-year legislative record. I am proud of the endorsements I'm starting to pick up. I have been able to walk the walk, and other people in the race will say things, and when you look at their records, they're not true. I want the voters to look at the records, and I'm not talking about a 35-year-old record that they go after me on. I've never run from that issue. Yeah, 35 years ago, I got arrested with $50 worth of cocaine.
Hold on, but let me just say this.
Story.
Hold on. For me personally, I think that when people bring that up, that's cheap. Now, people can agree with me or not, but we're talking about your candidacy right now. To me, that's cheap and that's salacious, and they're trying to make a name for themselves. So back to you, and let's get back to your conservative agenda. We talked at the gas station. By the way, thank you for meeting us at UltraTouch. Appreciate that.
That was nice that day. I appreciate
nice, yeah.
that. And then I headed back up to Coeur d'Alene that day, but it was a good start to the morning.
So
Tea Party Bob too.
Tea Party Bob was
Yeah.
there. Let's talk about how conservative are you, number one. And number two, are you worried about the libs moving in?
Moving into Idaho?
Yeah.
Well, I don't see that in North Idaho.
Well, we got them here.
I know you
We
have
got a
them
lot
here,
of libs here.
but the Republican Party, the conservatives, still control the legislature. And because we're such a big, diverse party, there's one end of the spectrum to the other of people who say they're conservative. How do you judge all that, Kevin? I guess you look at the third, as I've said, you look at the third parties, whether it's the American Conservative Union, the Idaho Freedom Foundation. Some people don't like that group, but they look at legislators, they look at scoring, they give us the scores that they think are important on certain bills, and agree or disagree, and I've taken them on the Senate floor before on quagga mussel issues. And so I have been voting the same way for 14 years, long before the Freedom Foundation even began. I have not changed. What I find funny when people say, oh, you follow the Freedom Foundation. I say, no, they follow me, because I've been in the legislature much longer than they've even been in Idaho.
Right. Now, back to you. Let's talk. The last time you said you were more conservative than Raul and Russ. That's a heady company.
Well, look at the records. I think I am. I served with both of them. And I get a kick out of watching what we're all saying during a campaign. And, you know, you say the things, and you watch the 1st Congressional District, and you watch the governor's race, and, of course, the race for lieutenant governor, and look at the scoring that Raul had or that Russ had and that I have had and continue to have. And I feel I am not only the most conservative of those three, myself, Russ, and Raul, but I also have been more effective. And I think that's a good combination. Being conservative and being able to get things done and working with not only my own party, but even across the aisle with the other party on getting things done.
Senator Bob Nonini with us, Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Got a question coming up from your friend Tea Party Bob, publisher of the Gem State Patriot. But before that, why are so many people running for lieutenant governor? How important is it, when we're talking about, your life, you're a successful businessman, been in the legislature for a long time. To me, you're giving up a lot where you're not as well compensated as the chief executive. Why not run for governor?
That's a good question. I pause a little bit here to give that some thought, because the lieutenant governor's seat is open. I actually said last summer in Coeur d'Alene when Brad and Tommy and Raul had their first debate, and I was at it. It was a summer meeting of the state Republican Party held in Coeur d'Alene last July or August it was, and listened to the three of them that I said to some friends afterwards, I should have run for governor. Listen to those three. I think I could have, stood toe-to-toe with any of them and looked at records. And again, I keep saying go to the records, but how do you judge? Because we'll say anything. And you're seeing it last night if you watch the debate.
I did.
People will say anything to get to the voters. But how does Mike, how does anybody then say, well, is that right? Is that true? Is it a fact check? Well, that's why I say then look at what the third-party people that look at the Idaho legislature have to say about fact check and where our records are.
All right, let's go to the phones. Grab your headphones, sir. And we'll go to Tea Party Bob joining us now with Senator Nonini on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you this morning?
Well, I'm glad that my debate-watching partner had a good time last night. You and I loved exchanging notes with you during the debate.
It's always kind of fun, isn't it?
It is.
Too bad nobody brought up the baseball stadium. That would have been even more fun. Senator Nonini, just a question. We got an email yesterday, and it's something that I've asked you before during a private interview. But according to the IFF, you are one of the most conservative voters in the legislature. But this letter yesterday was asking a very pertinent question about your conservatism when indeed during the 2014 election you were one of supposedly conservative legislators that supported and endorsed Sean Kehoe, who is the worst voting legislator in the Senate, and Luke Malek, who is very close to one of the worst voting liberal legislators in the House.
By the way, we're
Why
looking for
did you support that?
we're looking for Representative Malik to come on and talk about his congressional campaign. So there's a shout out to him.
So I just like to know why
yes.
he supported them. And this is a question I told him I get many times. I have a letter that came in yesterday asking the same question.
Well, to your point, Bob, I supported Sean Keogh because I think it's important to the northern part of the state. I knew where that chairmanship possibly could go had Sean not won. I opposed Sean years ago, and I got off to a rough start in the Senate. And I made amends and realized I'm a little out there sometimes, and I'm not shy to take positions. And so I thought it was important to Idaho, specifically the northern part of the state at the time, to have someone in the position that Sean was in. And we've been friends for a long time, outside of even politics and through my insurance work and her work with the Associated Logging Contractors. And I know it bothers people, but people have a right to choose who they want to choose in a primary. And the fellow that was running against her, I believe in 14, maybe it was 16, but was someone who was very abrasive. And when I say abrasive, people are going, well, geez, Nonini, look in the mirror, I suppose. But to the other point about Representative Malik, I did not support Malik. I did not support him. My wife did. But my wife has the right. And in fact, in Coeur d'Alene, during that election, there were two gentlemen that told me, you better control your wife. And I looked at them and I said, well, here's my phone. Call her yourself. I don't control my wife. My wife has the right to vote for who she wants to or to support who she wants to. And so, but yet I get pinned on it. But in that same sense, back to Senator Keogh for a minute, how come Labrador and Fulcher don't get criticized? You look at the Sunshine Reports, how much money Fulcher has given Senator Keogh over the years, how much money Labrador has given Senator Keogh over the years. But yet everyone wants to criticize Nonini because my wife wrote her a $100 check. You'll help me there, Tea Party Bob, understand that one. Let's talk about Labrador, let's talk about Fulcher and all the money they've given to Keogh. But yet you're criticizing me or people in a letter
No. I'm not criticizing you. Don't get that wrong. I told you where this was coming from. This is coming from readers of the Gem State. And I've told you several times that there are many questions about what you have done in the 2014 election. So don't pin that on me like you're pinning it on your wife.
Okay, so I apologize for that. It's readers of the Gem State Patriot. And speaking of the Gem State Patriot, I saw that my story and the piece I wrote was in there this week. So thank you for putting that in there. I do appreciate that. But back to the point. Let's talk about Labrador. Let's talk about Fulcher. Let's talk about my wife. My wife gives Sean $100. Labrador gives her, I don't know, at least $250 if it wasn't $500. And Fulcher's given her thousands over the years. But why didn't anyone at the Gem State Patriots say, hey, what's Fulcher doing sending Keogh thousands of bucks? What's Labrador doing sending Keogh $255 or $500? No, it's Bob Nonini. Give her $100. It's like, look at the report.
I think the reason that it doesn't happen with others is because you are, and you portray yourself as the most conservative legislator in the Senate. And I think that is why you do get that kind of criticism. And that's only my guess.
Well, the others, though, are no slouch when it comes to conservatism either, though.
Yeah. Well, doesn't Fulcher, in looking at what Fulcher's running in the 1st Congressional District, portray himself as one of the most conservative members in the time he spent in the legislature?
Not like Nonini.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, there's nobody like Nonini.
I'm looking at the Facebook. Hey, I'm proud of my record. I'm running on my record. Unlike some of my opponents that have no record or lie about their records, I'm right up front about my record. Look at my record. You and I have visited about it, Bob. You know my record. We might not agree on everything, but I am proud of my record and what I have been able to get done in 14 years in the legislature. And I've not got everything passed, but I've taken on the big companies. I've taken on Regents Blue Shield. I've taken on Blue Cross. I've taken on the Idaho Hospital Association. I've taken on the Idaho Medical Association.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Tea Party Bob, thank you.
Okay, take care, Kevin.
Thank you, sir. All right. Coming up next, Senator Nonini takes on the world. We'll talk more about your battles, and you disclosed that last night about taking on these big, huge conglomerates here in the state of Idaho. And we'd love for you to share your experience and talk more about your campaign for Lieutenant Governor. Phone number's here, 580-5436. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. All right, welcome back. Senator Nonini with us. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Now, I've got an email question for you, Senator. Dear Mr. Miller, can you please ask Senator Nonini about the news regarding his support on the death penalty to stop abortions? I would like to know his opinion on mothers-to-be having an ectopic pregnancy. And pardon my mispronunciation of that, but that's from Katie. I know that's made news and blah, blah, blah. You've clarified it many times, your thoughts on being pro-life and getting the endorsement of Idaho Chooses Life.
I'm proud of that. And what had been reported by a AP reporter who lives at the north end down here in Boise has never liked me. And I've said this before over the last few weeks. I'm not sure if I said it last time I was on your show 3 weeks ago or whenever that date was. But I'm proud of my pro-life record, and I think because of that I've got the endorsement of Idaho Chooses Life. I never said, and I repeat, I never said women that get an abortion should get the death penalty. But I made a nod. In fact, Kevin, you just did it.
I nod all the time.
Well,
yes,
you're acknowledging a conversation.
Exactly.
Everybody does and stuff. But Kimberly, I didn't want to mention her name, the reporter from the AP, put words in my mouth because I nodded during a conversation we were at an event in Moscow. And it's something I never said. Yes, I'm pro-life. Yes, I hope Roe v. Wade eventually is overturned by the Supreme Court. But as the law of the land, do I think abortion is murder? Yes, I do.
You know, you've seen conservative people such as yourself, other senators in Idaho that have tried to pass pro-life legislation being targets. You yourself have been a target where you try and pass something protecting the life of babies and they label you extremists and such. How important is it to you personally to be pro-life?
It's very important. I've always used the term, someone has to speak for the yet-to-be-born. Someone will say preborn or babies, but I use the term yet-to-be-born. Life begins at conception, and someone needs to speak for those groups of babies that are yet to be born. And I'm proud of my record. I am extremely strong pro-life, and I will continue to be that. And I want to take that record, that feeling, to the executive branch as the next lieutenant governor. So when issues come forward, I can work with the next governor and encourage the next governor to support those legislative items that are pro-life.
Now, we've only got about 3 minutes left, as I'd say time flies with Nonini. But, and that's true. Let me hit you with this. You disclosed last night that you fought the big medical industrial folks. You've been a target of them because of your stances, your conservative stances. Can you give us some background on that?
Yeah, I tried to change any willing provider law in Idaho to create larger networks of providers. The insurance companies like smaller networks, and it was a real battle to do that. Any willing provider. Law in Idaho, we wanted to open up for more providers to be in network, so people had choices, and the other issue was transparency. I wanted facilities to be transparent so shoppers, consumers, utilizers of medical care facilities could see what it costs to have orthoscopic knee surgery done at one facility versus the other. I did that myself years ago with knee surgery, saved myself a couple $1,000s. If you can save money, insurance rates don't go up so quick. Health care is very important to me. Affordable, accessible health care. The Obamacare Affordable Care Act is a disaster.
In fact, yes, it's pretty much ruined the health care here. So, if elected, what are you going to do as lieutenant governor to make it better?
I'm going to promote quality, affordable health care, and the way to do that is through health savings accounts, higher deductible plans. Consumers need to be responsible. They need to take care of themselves. They can't let an insurance company take care of themselves. They can't let the rest of the taxpayers in Idaho take care of them. Everyone needs to be responsible for their care, and those that cannot afford it need to have personal physicians that will help them, coach them in how to take care of themselves so they're not going into the emergency room of the public hospitals. That costs taxpayers tens of millions of dollars each year in Idaho, and that's not right. We need to take care of people. People need to take care of themselves.
What about taking care of Nonini? Who's taking care of you?
My wife, Kathy Ann. Man, she protects me, and taking care of Nonini would be, and taking care of Idaho would be vote for Bob Nonini on May 15th.
Anything else you'd like to share with us?
I look forward to being on here next time I'm in Boise. I'm headed home to Coeur d'Alene tomorrow. Haven't been up there for a few weeks. And look forward to another opportunity, Kevin, when I'm back down here in a week or so.
We'd love to have you back, or you can phone in, what have you.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Now until the primary, and certainly any time after.
Well, I'd like to keep in touch and like being on the show, and you got quite a following, and I like to take the calls and the emails and see what people want to talk about.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you.
Our great friend, Senator Nonini, with us. Kevin Miller, KIDO. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Joining us now, Lieutenant Colonel Granger Amthorn from the Idaho National Guard. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin.
Good to have you with us from the Army Aviation Unit. Big news today, sir. Could you tell us what's going on?
Yes, Kevin. So essentially, we have a medevac detachment, 3 aircraft, deploying in support of operations in Afghanistan. And essentially, that's going to be more than 24 soldiers deploying.
Well, for most of us that aren't familiar with what's going on in Afghanistan, we still have a huge commitment there. And if you could tell us a little bit about the role of a medevac, maybe some of us that are a little older can remember MASH, but probably most of us don't understand how just important Blackhawks and medevacs are today.
Absolutely, Kevin. So medevac, it's really a new role for us. As you're aware, we've changed missions from the Apache aircraft and now have many Blackhawks on the ramp, and one of those variants is a medevac aircraft. And essentially, it's a Blackhawk that's outfitted like an ambulance, and it provides the medical support for the ground commander in any area of operation. On board, you're typically going to have a flight paramedic, a crew chief, and then 2 pilots. And that mission is essential because it rapidly allows the ground commander to transport injured soldiers as well as civilians on the battlefield to medical services in a rapid enough time to provide that critical care.
So crucial, and the military and the Army and all the other branches of the military have really refined the process of getting an injured soldier to stabilization, to a facility. The innovations have been incredible in the past few years.
Absolutely, Kevin, and it really all started with the guy that founded the company that built the Blackhawk, Sikorsky. That was his original envision of the helicopter, is for really support.
Lieutenant Colonel Amthorn with us here, Granger Amthorn with us here at KIDO Talk Radio. How long will these soldiers be deployed, and what will their life be like, sir?
Yeah, so they'll be gone for a total of 12 months. Some of that time will consist of some training and evaluation down at Fort Hood, Texas, but several months will be in theater. As far as what kind of life they're going to have there, it'll be dynamic, but the climate and conditions are much like Southwest Idaho, much like when we went back in 2006, 2007. As far as, the op tempo, well, that just depends, on what kind of operations are going on. But it will be pretty much like we train at home.
Indeed, of course, military families from the soldiers that are impacted, their employers. It's not a lot has been written about this, and I'm sure you all will get a lot of coverage today. But can you, Lieutenant Colonel Amthorn, tell us a little bit about what it's like to be deployed and what these families and their friends and their employers will be going through, sir?
Absolutely. Well, we have a benefit being in the Guard. Unlike the active duty, where most soldiers rotate out of duty stations every 2 to 3 years, we're pretty stable. I mean, we're very stable here in the Treasure Valley. And so we have 2 things that are very beneficial for us in Idaho. One is the family support. We have a very robust family readiness group that provides resources and points family members in the right direction for any type of support while a soldier member is deployed. The other factor is really the employers. They're highly supportive of what we do, and it's really a symbiotic relationship between the soldier and the employer, because that employer also gains, an employee that has significant leadership training They're very adaptive. They can work in a very fast-paced environment, and it helps for building teams within the organization. So we get great support both from families as well as the employers.
Any particular message that you would like to share with our listeners here today, sir?
Absolutely. As I said, this will be a new mission for the Idaho Army National Guard, and they're very excited, the soldiers, and they've been training very hard, and I can confidently say that they are absolutely ready to take on the mission. I think that it's important to also understand that as we shifted from the Apache to the Blackhawk, and with the increased footprint of Blackhawks, the soldiers are focused on two missions, really. We have a federal mission where we go and support ground commanders in a combat environment, but also we have extensive training and support for the local community. We do a lot of search and rescue, a lot of hoist operations, because we're the only entity in the state that has a hoist. So, we're excited to increase our role within the state.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel Amthorn, we appreciate you. Good luck to you and to the soldiers, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin. You have a wonderful morning.
You as well. Take care.
All right.
All right. Lieutenant Colonel Granger Amthorn joining us exclusively here at KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller here, taking your calls about some folks that are going to Afghanistan. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. There is still a war for freedom going on. Pro-Life joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, there's a big war for freedom and for life. And I'll tell you one thing I've noticed in all of my political career, which is pretty long, that the candidate that is the most conservative on the life issue, that will say that abortion is murder, they will always be more conservative, more Christian, more constitutional on every issue. And that's, it's just, I've never seen it vary. I'm trying to think right now of some variance to that, but it doesn't happen. So that's why if I was a Republican, I would vote for Nonini.
You're endorsing Nonini?
Yep. Yeah, he's the right kind of guy. I mean, if you're a Republican, but on other issues, I say public education is communist education. So, I mean, I'm on most of the issues, I'm just way far to the right of him. But he's the best if you're a Republican.
I can't remember the last time you've spoken good about any Republican on this program. Well,
they're all about the same. They want to win, so they wimp out on most everything they can and kind of dull people down, and so that you can't hardly tell the difference between any of them. I mean, their philosophy is do not offend anybody. And so when you don't offend anybody, then you can't tell the truth. So that's just the way it is.
Well, pro-life, little breaking news this morning that Idaho needs Nonini from you.
Yeah. Idaho does need Nonini, and when they had that little debate up there in Coeur d'Alene, and Janice McGeechan said that a woman should never be have capital punishment for the death of her baby. That is that's ridiculous, because if a woman purposely kills her innocent child, and then you're just going to punish the doctor, but the National Republican platform says that a woman shall never, this is just about a quote, a woman shall never be punished for the death of her baby. So they're only going to punish the doctors. Now, that is just total foolishness, and anybody can see that.
What would you say to someone that would say to you that wouldn't want the woman punished, that said that she's suffered enough?
Well, hey.
How would you respond to that?
Hey, I could go out and rob a store and kill somebody and feel so sad about it, and I shouldn't, and just, be totally heartbroken about it. But I wouldn't have to go to jail because I'm suffering enough already because I killed the guy that I robbed. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, a jury has to decide all those things. You can't legislate capital punishment. That has to be a real jury decision, not even a judge's decision. And because compassion has to be brought into it through a jury. And we don't do that anymore. We just try to make a statute for every situation, and that never worked. But as soon as sperm meets egg, there is a new person on Earth. That can be proved very easily scientifically. They don't want to bring that into Congress, a legislature, anywhere. But a president, a governor, maybe a lieutenant governor sitting in as a governor, he could just say, I'm closing down all the abortion clinics, taking all the birth control, which are abortifacients, out of this state. The morning after pills, all of those kind of things would be gone because abortion is murder, and it is. And when you can't get the Republicans to say that, we'll never get over it. We're never going to get over anything if we don't look at abortion as murder.
Pro-life, thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio, your favorite radio station.
It is. It's the best in the West, and I wish it went further out there. We need to increase it from 10,000 to 100,000.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right, pro-life. And those people that don't want to increase it, they're wimps.
Yeah, they are.
Take care. Thank you, pro-life.
All right. See you.
Coming up next, more on the troops being deployed to Afghanistan, plus your thoughts on something we haven't talked about in a long time, and that is service, sacrifice, and honor. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Bob in Caldwell with Kevin Miller. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Kevin. Thank you for taking my call. Your last caller did an excellent job. I just had a thought to share about this business of prosecuting, holding women accountable for their decisions. And a side note to all of that is that you will hear from those that are less informed that a woman has a right to make choices about her own body, and that's just displaying these well-meaning people's ignorance relative to not understanding that that's true to an extent. And the extent would be that we're talking about the woman's elbow, her ankle, her ear, but another body, another person, which would be a child in the womb, is not property of the woman. People don't own people in this world. They might own a car, a tire, or a refrigerator, but they don't own another person. And in that life begins at conception, that's a completely false narrative, so they don't understand.
Why is that such an issue these days, and why do you have people on the left that continue to even question people that are pro-life and that say, look, we want to save babies, we want to save the lives of the unborn children, or as Senator Nonini said, yet to be born, and yet instead of having a rational debate, they vilify people like you or Senator Nonini or pro-life.
The neuroscientists, the clinicians that understand how the brains work will tell you the following. And this is maybe of the last 3 decades. Our institutions of higher learning have cranked out millions of people that don't do critical thinking, and they adopt groupthink, and they are paranoid about developing a stance, a position that's not popular. They choose them to live in echo chambers. They all drink from the same water cooler, and they're paranoid about voicing or taking a position that's contrary to their colleagues. They don't dare breathe, think, or voice anything from their heart or their brain that is different from their surroundings. And so this groupthink business, getting feedback that's identical to the ideology of those that they hold up, that they've been indoctrinized to worship, is their only mantra. And so their brain has I can't remember the word for it, but it's behind the ear, a mechanism that turns off anything that's counter to their goal. So
right.
They don't hear, understand, or acknowledge any of this other stuff, and that's why everybody else is shut off.
Right. Bob, thank you for the call. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Groupthink goes back to, of course, George Orwell. One of the other issues that got in the way of groupthink has to be the downtown stadium issue. And a group of folks got mad last night, and like this neighborhood meeting turns hostile. I don't think it turned hostile. People just said, look, we don't want a stadium. We don't want it on Americana. We don't want the traffic. We're tired of the hassles. And let's just let it go. It's going to be a big financial boondoggle. And yet the developer continues to want to go on. When will the city of Boise under Dave Beater actually listen to people? Well, look, when you're elected and reelected by the progressive liberal media establishment, I guess you don't have to listen to the people.
I'm not going to relax. Financing is at the heart of this.
A neighborhood meeting that was really more like a heated argument.
Why don't we want a vibrant downtown?
You know, where's the money coming from? The taxpayers. If you live in Boise, okay, I understand legacy costs for Boise Public Schools. You could say legacy costs for the infrastructure. You look at the bicycle lanes that have added to the congestion. You look at the congestion due to the expansion of St. Luke's downtown. You look at the connector at one time, spacious and opulent, now congested and clogged. Do you really want to add more traffic to a select group of elite folks that will use the baseball stadium? I don't think that baseball is that big of a draw.
From start to finish.
Sir, you are a joke.
The majority of the crowd had plenty of questions,
He didn't answer mine. That's why I was yelling at him.
passionately opposing the proposed stadium near downtown Boise for many reasons, including placement,
Why here? Why in the middle of the city?
traffic going to and from the potential stadium,
Traffic getting onto the connector already
It's
is
ridiculous.
I can't even describe what it's like.
and the use of public funds to support it.
I certainly, wouldn't mind near as much if there wasn't any public Boise funds going into it.
But the developers, Greenstone Properties,
People can be afraid of change. People can be afraid of the unknown.
say they have ways to work around these issues.
You need to have it in a place where it can be vibrant.
Yeah, who wants the stadium? Maybe you take the trolley to the stadium. Traffic and weather. And let's go back to the phones. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberal Steve.
Good morning, Kevin Miller. Your show today had a lot of different topics. It was kind of up and down. It was a great show. But this new app that I keep listening to stuff on is got such a delay. By the time I call in, topics have changed and this and that. If they could shorten the space up on the app, that'd sure help.
So you're critiquing the KIDO Talk Radio app.
Well, I'm not saying it's bad, but, it's such a big delay.
We don't. We have transparency here. You can say what you want.
Well, I was going to ask the last caller what he thought of Barbara Bush now that she died, because she was pro-choice. Was she a liberal conservative? Was she part of the everybody's thinking the same group? But I didn't get a chance because there's such a delay.
Maybe you'll have to listen to the old-fashioned thing called a radio.
I know. I'm going to get my pocket double-A battery radio out and keep my top pocket when I'm out working, so I know I'm right on cue.
I'm a big fan of the radio. Some call me a technophobe, but I'm a big fan of the radio.
Kevin Miller, you're the best in the West. That's all I can say. I don't agree with anything you got to say, but I love you. You stay fired up.
Well, I love you too, Liberal Steve, and thank you for the critique of the KIDO Talk Radio app. I will pass that along to upper management.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We so appreciate Liberal Steve critiquing the app. By the way, you can get the KIDO Talk Radio app anytime, anywhere. Details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Don't forget Glenn Beck, Dave Ramsey, Sean Hannity will bring you home. And if you're working late or you're starting on that second shift, our great friend Lars Larson, keep KIDO Talk Radio with you throughout the day at work or at play. We really appreciate you joining us each and every day. Tomorrow, we will be at Compass Public Charter School, and Thank You Thursdays return with your chance to win Kevin Miller's dinner, courtesy of the Indian Creek Steakhouse. You've got the Rancher. You've got the Cowboy and Turf. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. Details on how you can win at KIDOTalkRadio.com. So we're pumped up. Thank You Thursdays. And remember, we'll continue to cover Idaho's contenders with Kevin each and every morning. Ray Amaya, great job as always. Looks like it doesn't look good for me. Jeff the Suit's here for our post-show critique. A little too much inside information. God bless and keep the faith.